Hello, good evening. This is Cindy coming to you live with the Hope of Ruth Ministries. I hope you guys are enjoying your day today and hopefully it holds out. I can swipe that off there. There we go. So today I wanted to share a story with you guys that's personal to my life. And I hope through it that it will encourage you in your own life, in your own walk, in your own situations that you may be facing. This story, okay, I'm still, I don't know what that means. Sorry, guys. Anyway, this story begins when I was a little girl. I was probably around 6 years old, and I woke up one day and I started getting these spots all over me, from pretty much head to toe, and a whole bunch on my stomach, and I had no idea what it was. My mom took me to a dermatologist and some kind of specialist. I don't remember them very well. But turns out I had an autoimmune disease called psoriasis. It's something that's passed down genetically through parents. Don't understand a whole lot about it other than your skin basically thinks that it's injured and it tries to repair itself. And it looks like what is a sore when there's no reason for it to be there. But needless to say, I was covered with it. And I didn't fully understand it as a 6-year-old. And due to certain circumstances that I faced when I was growing up, it really added to a poor self-image. I really felt shame about me. I felt like I needed to hide. I'd wear certain clothes and I had certain attitudes that I carried with me everywhere because I wanted to be protected and tough, and I felt vulnerable, and I felt like, I was just ashamed. I felt like a leper. I was afraid that people, what they would think of me, or that if they knew I had these big, patches of psoriasis on me, that they wouldn't understand it and they'd be afraid of me. So that's a lot to take for a 6-year-old little girl, and that kind of followed me up through the years. And I don't remember exactly how old I was, but there was a day when there you go, wave at you. There we go. Sorry to hear that, Taylor, but you're not alone in it. And so anyway, I was invited by a neighbor who was faithful to take me and my sisters to an Awanas get together, which is, it's like a kids club, a Christian kids club. And there was a lady there who wanted to tell us a story. It was about a man named Lazarus and a rich man. And that's kind of the basis for what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. This story changed my life and would really just alter the course and the direction of it. So if you want to read with me, or just for reference, you can turn to Luke chapter 16. I'm going to be reading in verse 19 and down. It says, there was a rich man who was clothed in purple and fine linen, and who feasted sumptuously every day. And at his gate was laid a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who desired to be fed with what fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, even the dogs came and licked his sores. The poor man died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. And in Hades, being in torment, he lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham far off and Lazarus at his side. And he called out, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus to dip the end of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in anguish in this flame. But Abraham said, Child, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in anguish. And besides all this, between us and you a great chasm has been fixed in order that those who would pass from here to you may not be able, and none may cross from there to us. And he said, Then I beg you, Father, to send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, so that he may warn them lest they also come into this place of torment. But Abraham said, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And he said, No, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, they will repent. He said to him, If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead. Now, when I heard this as a kid, one of the things that I really noticed was that Lazarus, in his state of being, was pretty rough, pretty bad off. And the one thing that he had in life that I related to that probably comforted him was that the dogs came and licked his sores. And what that reminded me of is when I was really hurting, and these sores were on me, my mom, she would put this medicine on me and just gently touch each place that was cracked and hurting with this medicine to try to heal it. And I remember that being, this one comfort that in the midst of this misery I had. And I could relate to him, and I could see how he must feel even humiliated, because I felt humiliated. That was my comfort. And I had psoriasis also on my scalp, super bad, and I'd have to have this special shampoo, and and I would go to school and my hair would be greasy, and I just felt the weight of people's stares and their judgments on me. And when I heard that story, it was like for the first time in my life, I realized that it was possible to have something, that you can't really explain. I don't believe Lazarus knew why he was in the situation he was in with those sores, and it doesn't really give us that backstory. But shoot, I just drew a blank. I've never done that before on live. I don't know. I guess this is just something that's been, I really wanted to talk about this, and my mind was really going every which way with it, because there's a lot of things I could say. And I don't know, just being real with you, it made me a little nervous to talk about it, about something when I was a kid, something like that. It's really personal, but I really want to share it with you guys, and I want to be real. I wish I could remember where I was going with it. Thank you, Stephen. I love you too.
You were talking about the sores and how the dog licked them.
Yeah, I know. I was talking about the sores and how the dog licked them, and basically, I related to that. I related to my friend's in the other room. She's helping me. But I related to what had happened to him, and that's what it was. I realized for the first time in my life that something could be wrong with me and I'm not bad. I didn't have to be ashamed of myself for, what was going on with me, because I saw through the message of Lazarus that he wound up on Abraham's side. He was comforted. And the ones, who had it all well and good in life, well, they didn't end up so well. And I don't think it's that God wanted them not to end up so well. It's just that there's a deceitfulness in this life that says, if you have everything in life, what's Jesus good for? What do you need him for? There's a deceitfulness in that. And there's also a reality check that when you don't have everything in life and you have struggled, there's a goodness in it, because it opens your eyes up to the reality of life. And I believe Lazarus knew that. I believe he had a reality check. He wasn't bitter about his circumstances. The only thing he wanted, was something to eat in this life. And I believe when God saw that the rich man who could have helped him didn't, the Lord took him out. He took him out of this life, took him out of his situation, and gave him eternal comfort. So, all these years later, I was thinking about that story again, and looking back at it as an adult, I saw something really, really, really interesting. When Jesus was telling this parable, he said the rich man and Lazarus. He even mentioned Abraham's name. You see, Jesus had a relationship with that poor, sickly man, and he knew him by name. But that rich man, the only thing Jesus said about him was his status, which is probably what he wanted to be known by. You know, how he ate, what he wore, things like that. And what's even more interesting, it's not like the rich man didn't know better, because when he was on the other side of that fire and he was looking and seeing them in comfort and him in torment, he knew who Father Abraham was. So that tells me he was also a Jew. And he knew the Torah. He grew up with it. He grew up with the feast. He grew up knowing that you're supposed to do charity. You're supposed to love your God. You're supposed to take care of your brothers. And he chose not to do that. And it's interesting that the very, guy he spent his whole life ignoring and living in luxury was now the envy of his soul. So I guess what I'm saying is that, yeah, you're born into certain things in life and it's not really your fault. It's just the way it is. We're born into a fallen world. We're born into sin. And sometimes we're born with conditions that we can't explain. In John chapter 9, it talks about a man who was born blind. And some of the disciples thought, to ask Jesus, was he born blind because of his sin or his parents' sin? And Jesus said neither. It was so that the glory of God may be revealed in him. Sometimes we do cause things in our life that makes us sick. But God says he's faithful and just to forgive us of our sins. And, you can call the elders and have them pray for him and he'll be healed. But sometimes we do suffer certain things for the glory of God. And that man, he wound up being able to see and testify to who Jesus was. But he paid a price for that. He's also going to get a reward in heaven for that as well. So you're not helpless. And that's what that story really told me, is I'm not helpless. And the Lord knows me by name. He knows you by your name. He loves you and he cares for you. It doesn't matter what your status is. It doesn't matter how you started. It doesn't matter how bad you screw up in life. Even if you're the rich man and you've walked around ignoring people who need for whatever reason. Maybe you're the businessman. Maybe, you're the businesswoman, or you're the important so-and-so, or you've got the alphabet behind your name. It doesn't matter. You're in the same condition. The rich man and the poor man Lazarus, they both died. But only one of them had a relationship, and that's the point of this life. So, you have a purpose in him. Your life is not in vain. God's not mad at you. You're not sick because he's mad at you or wants to punish you for something. A lot of people wonder about that. God says, in Jeremiah, that he knows the plans that he has for us, to give us a hope and a future and an expected end in him, to prosper us, not to hurt us. He came into this world because he loves us. And, it's just awesome to know. And it's the most important thing, to know that he knows your name for eternity. If you will take up your cross and follow him, and you don't deny him in this life, he won't deny you in the next. So I love you guys. Thank you for bearing with me. And I hope this message blesses you. And, if you want to find out more about us, you can go to thehopeofruthministries.com. We're here every night at 7:30. And I guess I'll see you guys later. Love you. Shalom.